Savage X Revenge.
Welcome to Savage X Revenge, where broken hearts turn into spectacular payback. Today, I'm going to share my story with you, a tale of betrayal, deception, and one hell of a transformation. Buckle up, because this ride is going to be anything but smooth. I'm Daniel Hayes, 42 years old, a mergers and acquisitions lawyer here in Manhattan. My job demands precision, strategy, and maybe a little bit of ruthlessness. I've always prided myself on being able to see through any situation, predict my opponent's moves, but ironically, I was blind to what was happening right under my nose. It had been 10 years since I exchanged vows with Emily, the woman I believed was my soulmate. Emily, a talented interior designer, had impeccable taste and a smile that could light up a room. We were the perfect couple, or so I thought. But things started to change about a year ago. Emily became distant, less talkative, and perpetually busy with work. She was constantly traveling, taking on new projects, and coming home late. I understood that her job required her to be dynamic, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Our 10-year anniversary rolled around, and I planned a romantic evening at our favorite restaurant. I made a reservation, bought a bouquet of deep red roses, and prepared a special gift, a diamond necklace she had been wanting for ages. I woke up on a gloomy morning, the gray light seeping through the curtains, casting long shadows across the bedroom. Today marked 10 years of marriage, but instead of happiness, I felt a dull, simmering anger, tinged with an indescribable sadness. I got out of bed and headed towards the kitchen. The smell of burnt toast assaulted my nostrils. She'd left the bread in too long again, no doubt distracted by her phone. I stood by the counter, arranging a bouquet of pure white lilies. She used to love them, but now she barely noticed. Emily breezed in, her high heels clicking on the tile floor. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, screaming efficiency. She didn't even glance at me. "Morning," she muttered, eyes glued to her phone, her thumbs dancing across the screen. I caught a glimpse of a message, too fast to read, but enough to make me suspicious. She'd been like this for months now, distant, unavailable, and always somewhere else. I placed the lilies on the table, their subtle fragrance drowned out by her expensive perfume. "Happy anniversary," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up, startled as if she'd forgotten all about it. "Oh, right, thanks," she said, forcing a smile. "I've got a crazy day today, you know how it is. I'll probably be late." She grabbed her purse and turned towards the door. "You're always busy," I said, gripping the edge of the table. "You know that," she replied, and then the door slammed shut, swallowing me in silence. I stood there, staring at the lilies, their petals already drooping from neglect. I could have called after her, demanded answers, but I didn't. I'd learned long ago that silence was my sharpest weapon. Let her think I was still the same old Daniel Hayes, a pushover husband, predictable, a consultant she looked down on. I jumped into my trusty BMW and drove to my office. But today, I wasn't heading to the skyscraper in Midtown, where I put on the facade of a successful lawyer. Instead, I took a winding road towards the industrial area on the outskirts of the city. I parked in front of a dilapidated warehouse, with no sign of any kind. This was my real office, a place Emily knew nothing about. Stepping inside, I walked down a long, dark hallway until I reached a reinforced steel door. I entered the code, scanned my fingerprint, and the door swung open, revealing a completely different space. This was my command center, a tech fortress built over years. The walls were covered in computer screens, displaying all kinds of information, stock market data, financial news, and personal profiles. In the center of the room was a large leather chair, where I could sit and control everything. I'm a venture capitalist, a secret angel investor, who has funded hundreds of successful startups. I own large stakes in many businesses, including Emily's interior design company. But I had kept this truth hidden from her since the day we met. I wanted her to love me for who I was, not for my money or power. But now, everything had changed. Love was dead, and the truth was my only weapon. I sat down in the chair, took a sip of black coffee, and got to work. I accessed the security camera system secretly installed in Emily's office. I could see her, hear her, and track her every move. And then, I saw him. Liam, a young, handsome architect, who had recently been hired at Emily's company. He was always by her side, helping her, and laughing with her. I noticed Emily's gaze, the way she looked at Liam, the way she touched his arm. It wasn't the look of a friend, a colleague. It was the look of a woman in love. Rage welled up inside me, but I fought to control it. I couldn't let emotions cloud my judgment. I needed to think logically, plan carefully, and strike decisively. I spent the whole day gathering information on Liam. I learned about his family, his friends, and his past. I wanted to know everything, every weakness, every secret. I also started investigating Emily's finances. I wanted to know what she was doing with her money, what she was spending it on, and if she was hiding anything. In the evening, I returned home, where the lilies still sat on the table, withered and decaying. Emily wasn't home yet. I received a text message from her, "I have to work late tonight, don't wait up for dinner." I smirked. "Working late," she said. I knew exactly where she was. She was with Liam, in his arms. I sat down at the table, opened my laptop, and accessed a GPS tracking program that I had installed on Emily's phone. I could see that she was at a fancy restaurant downtown. I switched to the security camera system and saw her and Liam sitting opposite each other, laughing and talking. He took her hand, and she didn't resist. I closed the laptop, feeling a sharp pain in my heart. But I didn't cry. I wasn't angry. I just felt an emptiness, a coldness. Love was dead, and I had to bury it. I stood up, went to the closet, and took out a duffel bag that I had prepared long ago. Inside were clothes, personal items, a passport, and some cash. I had planned for this a long time ago, just in case things went south. I also took out a thick envelope, containing a letter and some photos. I placed it on the table, next to the lilies. It was the anniversary gift I had prepared for Emily. I left the house and drove to my secret apartment downtown. This apartment was a gift I had bought myself a few years ago, a place where I could escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. It was fully equipped, with a spacious living room, a cozy bedroom, and a modern kitchen. I took a shower, changed clothes, and sat down on the sofa, looking out at the glittering city skyline. I felt alone, but I also felt free. I had escaped my fake life, and I was ready for a fresh start. I opened a bottle of red wine, filled a glass, and took a sip. The bittersweet taste of the wine soothed the emotions churning inside me. I thought about everything that had happened, about the mistakes I had made, and about what I needed to do to get revenge. I knew that Emily wouldn't let me go easily. She would be angry, she would be hurt, and she would try to do everything to win me back. But I was determined, I wouldn't let her ruin my life anymore. I would get revenge, not with violence or hatred, but with truth and justice. I would expose her true colors, reveal her dark secrets, and make her pay for what she had done. The next morning, I woke up with a burning sense of determination. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face any challenge. I would do everything to protect myself and get revenge on Emily. I drove to the office, but not to work. I went there to gather evidence, to copy important documents, and to prepare for the legal battle ahead. I had hired a private investigator to follow Emily and Liam, and I had received some interesting photos and videos. I also contacted the best lawyer in the city, who specialized in complex divorces and property disputes. I told him everything, and he agreed to help me. With the help of my associates, I began to review all the financial transactions that Emily had made over the years. I wanted to make sure that she hadn't been draining assets or hiding anything. Then, I found what I needed. She had been quietly transferring money to an offshore bank account for months now. I closed my laptop, feeling satisfied. Now, I had enough evidence to convict Emily and win the divorce. I wasn't in a rush. I knew that time was my ally. I wanted Emily to feel safe, I wanted her to believe that she was winning. I wanted her to pay the highest price possible. In the days that followed, I continued to gather information and make plans. I contacted some of Emily's business partners and revealed to them about her relationship with Liam. I also posted some anonymous articles on social media, revealing Emily's betrayal and her moral decay. I knew that these actions would cause great damage to Emily's reputation, but I didn't care. She had hurt me, and I would hurt her tenfold. One evening, I received a call from the private investigator. He said that Emily and Liam were in a fancy hotel on the outskirts of the city. He had taken a lot of photos and videos proving their relationship. I ordered him to continue following them and gathering more evidence. I wanted everything, every detail, every secret. I wanted to make sure that Emily wouldn't be able to escape. I was ready for the final battle, and I believed that I would win. Because I had the truth, I had justice, and I had revenge. Betrayal doesn't destroy you, it's how you react to it that determines your future. Want to know what happens next? Stay tuned for the next part of the story, where I'll expose Emily's true face and make her pay for what she's done. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the action. The next few days dragged by in a haze of tense anticipation. I, Daniel Hayes, was living in a parallel universe, one side being the veneer of a successful lawyer, a pathetic cuckolded husband, the other a cold strategist, silently setting traps for his prey. Emily, completely oblivious to the storm brewing, continued her double life. She still went to work, still smiled and laughed, still made plans for the future, but it was all a clumsy act. I got regular reports from the private investigator, photos and videos that became increasingly brazen. Emily and Liam weren't even trying to hide their affair anymore. They went out to dinner, saw movies, took weekend trips together, even publicly displayed affection. I looked at those images with a chilling detachment. The anger had subsided, leaving only a steely resolve. The divorce papers were filed in court. Emily, of course, was utterly shocked. She called me, crying, begging me to give her another chance. She said she still loved me, that it was all a mistake, that she'd do anything to save our marriage. I listened to her patiently, without interrupting. When she was finished, I simply said, "It's too late, Emily." She hung up, and I knew she wouldn't give up easily. She would fight, and she would fight dirty. But I was ready. I had everything I needed to win. The fateful day finally arrived. It was the day I decided to expose Emily in front of everyone. I had planned everything meticulously, leaving no detail overlooked. That morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I put on a sharp black suit, a bold red tie, and carefully styled my hair. I wanted to look perfect, powerful, and intimidating. I drove to the building where Emily's company was headquartered. I parked in a conspicuous spot, got out of the car, and strode confidently into the lobby. I could feel eyes on me, but I didn't care. I knew everyone was talking about me, about my divorce, about the rumors that were swirling around. I approached the reception desk and asked to see Emily. The receptionist looked at me with a curious gaze and called Emily. After a few minutes of waiting, Emily came out, her face pale. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm here to talk to you," I replied, my voice cold. "We have nothing to talk about," she said, trying to maintain her composure. "Oh, I think we have plenty to talk about," I said, and grabbed her arm, pulling her along with me. Emily tried to resist, but I was stronger than her. I dragged her into the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor, where the company's main conference room was located. When the elevator stopped, I pulled Emily out and walked into the conference room. Everyone was there, the senior staff, the business partners, and even Liam. They looked at me with utter surprise. "Daniel, what the hell are you doing?" Emily asked, her voice almost a sob. "I'm here to tell everyone the truth," I replied, and stepped up to the podium. I looked around the room and began to speak. I told everyone about my marriage to Emily, about the promises we had made to each other, and about the dreams we had built together. I told them about Emily's betrayal, about her secret relationship with Liam, and about the lies she had spun to cover it up. I showed everyone the photos and videos I had collected, undeniable proof of Emily's infidelity. I saw looks of shock, pale faces, and incredulous headshakes. Emily stood there, like a statue of ice. She said nothing, did nothing, just stood there and looked at me, with a desperate expression. When I was finished speaking, the entire room was silent. No one dared to speak, no one dared to move. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. And then, I turned to Emily and said, "You're fired." Those words echoed throughout the room, like a thunderclap. Emily staggered backward, as if she had been slapped in the face. She looked at me with a hateful stare, but I didn't flinch. "You can't do this," she said, her voice choked. "I can, and I will," I replied, and gestured for security to escort her out. Emily was dragged away, screaming and resisting, but no one helped her. Everyone just stood there and watched her, with disgust and contempt. Once Emily was gone, I turned to the rest of the people in the room and said, "I apologize for the interruption. Now, let's get back to work." I stepped down from the podium and left the conference room, leaving everyone in stunned silence. I knew that what I had just done would have major consequences, but I didn't regret it. I had done what I had to do. I had avenged myself, and I had reclaimed justice. I left the building and drove home. I felt a deep weariness, but I also felt a great sense of release. I had shed the burden that had weighed me down for so long. I got home and collapsed on the sofa. I closed my eyes, and images of Emily flooded my mind. I saw her beautiful face, her radiant smile, and her loving gaze. But those images quickly faded, replaced by her pale face, her hateful stare, and her despair. I opened my eyes and sighed. I knew that I would never forget Emily, but I also knew that I had to move on. I had to find a new life, a new love, and a new happiness. I got up, went to the window, and looked out at the glittering city skyline. I felt a deep sense of loneliness, but I also felt a glimmer of hope. I knew that the future was still ahead of me, and I had the power to decide my own fate. I had gotten my revenge, and now, it was time for me to live. The following days were a whirlwind of events. The news of Emily's betrayal and my revenge spread like wildfire. Newspapers, websites, TV shows, everyone was reporting on our story. Emily became an outcast, a pariah of society. She lost her job, she lost her friends, and she lost her reputation. She tried to contact me, but I didn't answer. I didn't want to hear anything from her anymore. Liam was also hit hard. He was fired from the company, and he was shunned by everyone. He tried to contact Emily, but she refused to see him. He realized that he had just been a pawn in her game, and that he had been used ruthlessly. I, on the other hand, received support and admiration from many people. Many called me a hero, a courageous man who had stood up against injustice. Many shared their stories, about the betrayals they had experienced, and about the ways they had gotten revenge. I realized that my story wasn't just about revenge, but also about forgiveness, about acceptance, and about rising above. I realized that betrayal wasn't the end, but a new beginning. I decided to use my story to help others, those who had been betrayed and were suffering. I founded a charity, providing legal and psychological counseling to victims of infidelity. I also wrote a book, telling my story, and sharing my experiences. My book became a bestseller, and I became a famous speaker. I traveled the world, sharing my story, and inspiring people. I had found a new purpose in life, a purpose bigger than myself. I had turned my pain into strength, and I had used that strength to do good things. And then, one day, I met Ashley again. Ashley was my secretary, a smart, beautiful, and resourceful woman. She had always been by my side, helping me with everything, and supporting me in all my decisions. I had always considered her a friend, a colleague, but I had never realized that she had feelings for me. One evening, after a successful speaking engagement, Ashley invited me out to dinner. We sat and talked for hours, about work, about life, and about our dreams. I realized that Ashley wasn't just a secretary, but also an amazing woman, a woman I could love and trust. I confessed my feelings to her, and she confessed her feelings to me as well. We hugged, and I felt a warmth and peace that I had never felt before. We started dating, and our relationship became more and more serious. I realized that I had found true love, a love that wasn't based on lies and betrayal, but on trust and respect. A year later, Ashley and I got married. We had a small wedding, with just family and close friends. Emily wasn't invited. I looked at Ashley in her pure white dress, and I knew that I had made the right decision. I had forgiven Emily, I had accepted the past, and I had started a new life with the woman I loved. My life had changed miraculously. I had experienced great pain and hardship, but I had overcome it all, and I had become stronger. I had learned that betrayal wasn't the end, but a new beginning. I had learned that true love exists, and that it's worth fighting for. And I had learned that we can turn the worst things in life into the best things. I had found my happiness, and I knew that it would last forever. But before we get to the end, I want to rewind a bit and look at the consequences that Emily and Liam faced. How did their lives change after I exposed them? After getting fired and being ostracized by society, Emily fell into a dark period. She lost all her friends, no one trusted or supported her anymore. Her career was also destroyed, no one dared hire an interior designer who'd had an affair and been publicly humiliated. She tried to turn to Liam for comfort, but he was facing similar difficulties. He was fired, shunned by his family and friends, and couldn't find a new job. They both realized they had made a mistake, but it was too late. They had lost everything for a moment of recklessness and poor judgment. Emily tried to contact me many times, but I never responded. I didn't want to hear any explanations or apologies from her. I had forgiven her in my heart, but I didn't want to have any contact with her anymore. Some time later, I heard that Emily had moved to another city and was working as a sales clerk in a small store. Her life had completely changed, from a successful interior designer to an ordinary, anonymous person. Liam also disappeared from my radar. I don't know where he is, or what he's doing. But I guess that his life hasn't been easy either. The story of Emily and Liam is a cautionary tale for anyone considering cheating on their loved one. Betrayal can have terrible consequences, not just for the victim, but also for the perpetrator. So, what's the message I want to send you? It's to cherish what you have, to love and respect your partner, and to never betray their trust. Because once you've lost trust, you'll never get it back. Instead of simply retaliating by stripping Emily of her possessions and status, Daniel focused on exposing the truth and bringing the story to light, making Emily face the judgment of society. At the same time, he turned his pain into motivation to help others, creating a meaningful message about forgiveness and rising above. The years that followed were filled with peace and happiness. My life with Ashley overflowed with laughter, love, and new adventures. We traveled the world, exploring different cultures, and making unforgettable memories. We built a home together, a place where we could share our joys and sorrows, our successes and failures. I learned how to forgive Emily, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved to be free. I accepted the past, and I focused on the present and the future. I found true happiness, and I didn't want to waste any more time on bitterness and resentment. I continued to run my charity, helping people who had been betrayed and were suffering. I shared my story, inspired them, and showed them that they weren't alone. I turned my pain into strength, and I used that strength to do good. Ashley was always by my side, supporting me in everything. She was the perfect partner, my soulmate, and the woman I loved more than anything in the world. She was the light in my life, and I knew I couldn't live without her. One day, while I was walking in the park, I unexpectedly ran into Emily. She looked very different, thin and haggard. She was wearing old, worn-out clothes, and her hair was a mess. She looked at me with a pleading expression. "Daniel, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I know I messed up, and I regret everything. I just want you to forgive me." I looked at her, and I felt a pang of pity. I knew she had been through a lot, and she had paid the price for her mistakes. "I forgave you a long time ago, Emily," I said. "I don't have any resentment towards you anymore." She looked up at me, with a surprised expression. "Really?" she asked. "Really," I replied. "I found my happiness, and I don't want to waste time on the past." She smiled, a sad smile. "I'm happy for you," she said. "I hope you'll be happy." "I definitely will be," I replied. "I have Ashley, and we love each other very much." She nodded, and said, "I understand. I wish you all the best." She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I stood there, watching her go, and I felt a great sense of relief. I had resolved the outstanding issues from the past, and I was ready to move on to the future. I went home and hugged Ashley tightly. I told her about my meeting with Emily, and she listened to me patiently. "I'm glad you forgave her," she said. "You deserve to be happy." "I know," I replied. "And I will be happy, with you." We held each other close, and I felt a love wash over me. I knew that I had found the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and I would never let her go. A few years later, Ashley and I decided to adopt a child. We had always wanted children, but we couldn't have them naturally. We considered different options, and we decided that adoption was the best choice for us. We adopted a beautiful baby girl named Lily. Lily was an adorable, intelligent, and full-of-life child. She brought a new meaning to our lives, and we loved her more than anything in the world. Lily grew up in a loving and happy environment. She knew that she was adopted, and she was always proud of it. She knew that she was loved by two wonderful parents, who were always ready to do anything for her. I told Lily about my story with Emily, about the betrayal, the revenge, and the forgiveness. I wanted her to learn from my mistakes, and I wanted her to know that love and forgiveness were the most important things in life. Lily listened to me attentively, and she learned a lot from my story. She learned that betrayal can cause deep wounds, but it can't destroy us. She learned that we can overcome the difficulties in life, and we can find happiness. Lily grew into a strong, independent, and compassionate woman. She devoted her life to helping others, and she made a big difference in the world. I was so proud of Lily, and I knew that she would continue to do great things in her life. She was my hope, my future, and my legacy. I had lived an eventful life, but I had found happiness and peace. I had experienced great pain and hardship, but I had overcome it all, and I had become stronger. I had learned that life isn't always fair, but we always have the right to choose how we react to what happens to us. We can choose bitterness and resentment, or we can choose forgiveness and love. We can choose to live in the past, or we can choose to move on to the future. I had chosen to forgive, I had chosen to love, and I had chosen to move on to the future. And I knew that I had made the right choices. And now, as I look back on my life, I feel a deep sense of satisfaction. I had experienced the worst things, but I had also experienced the best things. I had loved, I had lost, I had suffered, and I had recovered. I had lived a full life, and I had no regrets. But there's one thing that I still wonder about: did Emily ever truly regret what she did? Did she ever find true happiness? Did she ever forgive herself? I don't know the answers to those questions. But I hope that she found peace in her soul, and that she learned from her mistakes. I hope that she found a new life, a life that she could be proud of. And I hope that my story has helped you understand that betrayal isn't the end, but a new beginning. I hope it has inspired you to forgive, to love, and to move on to the future. The story doesn't just stop at revenge, it delves into the process of forgiveness, acceptance, and finding true happiness after being hurt. The message about turning pain into power to help others is a positive and meaningful highlight. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means freeing yourself from resentment. Don't let the past define your future. Learn from it, and move on. Happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey. Betrayal can wound you deeply, but it doesn't define who you are. So, folks, what do you think about my story? Does revenge really bring happiness? Should we forgive those who have hurt us? Ponder these questions, and share your thoughts in the comments below. In life, we may face difficult situations, people who hurt us, and betrayals that break our hearts. But the important thing is that we don't let those things define who we are. We must learn to forgive, to love, and to move on to the future. Because life is a precious gift, and we deserve to be happy. Don't waste time on bitterness and resentment. Focus on the positive, and create a life that you can be proud of. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other compelling stories from Savage X Revenge. Share this story with your friends, and let's spread the message of forgiveness, love, and happiness together. Thanks for watching.